following is a GNC podcast production. Welcome to Geek Addicts, a pop culture podcast. Hey, everybody, and welcome to Geek Addicts, the pop culture podcast where we spend every week talking about different random bullshit. I'm very tired today. I'm Bill. This is Matt. How you doing, Matt?
I'm sad.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Today was rough for a lot of people.
Yeah. And what's funny is I earlier in the week I was expecting to come in here rolling talking about Rooster Teeth is shutting down, blah blah blah, and then this happened.
Yeah, I knew it was going to be a rough morning when I sent you that text, and then your response was the Rooster Teeth thing, and I went, "Oh, he doesn't know yet."
Nope. Didn't know. So
yeah.
I immediately jumped on the Discord. I was like, maybe that's not what he's talking about. And I think Schnickerman had posted it, and I was like, oh, fuck.
It was posted legit. The first thing I saw was my Discord. I had like 27 notifications, and I was like, "Oh no, what happened?"
Yeah, that's never a good sign.
And like three different like group chats I'm in all posted it, plus like every server I'm in imaginable. So I was like, shit, this is not how I wanted to end my week.
Nope.
So we should probably specify in case anyone's wondering that didn't read the title of this episode. Unfortunately, last night we lost Akira Toriyama.
Yeah.
It's 68 years old, way too young.
Yeah, was it a brain hemorrhage? Yeah,
it was something. I thought it was either brain or heart. I have to reread the thing. That
brain aneurysm, something like that.
Yeah, it was one of those things that it was like very shocking. It just kind of came out of nowhere because like no one heard anything bad about him as far as we knew.
No, it was definitely one of those kinds of very sudden, no build up to it. It's not like how it's how it's going to be with Tagashi, because he's been consistently ill for like a decade or more. Everyone's been waiting for that one. No one expected Toriyama.
So it was an acute subdural hematoma, which I'm not exactly sure what that is, but it doesn't sound pleasant. A big thing I just noticed though, reading the press release, he apparently passed away on March 1st, and we didn't find out about it until yesterday.
Well, I'm sure they wanted to keep it quiet, let the family have their service and everything. They didn't want a bunch of people bombarding them.
Yeah, it just amazes me, and it didn't leak, honestly, just with how easily everything just completely leaks and gets found out nowadays.
Normally I would be, but with how secluded and honestly isolationist Toriyama's always been.
True.
He's always been a very private person. So, I mean, I can see that.
I do find interesting though, because he is one of the few like manga artists that we actually know what he looks like.
Yeah, right.
Because like most of them, they like still are like have their faces hidden, and we don't even know. Like it's really only the old guard, like Toriyama. Like we've seen pictures of like Rumiko, Takahashi. Like there's a few out there that we know like what they look like. So it's very interesting though that like they all are still very private like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Toriyama was the introvert that we all should strive to be.
Yeah. Also, he was like a self-admitted like. My favorite part about Toriyama was how he would just like dump on himself all the time for his like shortcomings, and he was perfectly honest about it.
Yeah, perfectly comfortable with it too. He just did not care.
Like, I mean, his famous quote about he only knows how to draw like 4 faces, and damn right he does, but we still liked it.
Yeah.
He also apparently could never he didn't know how to make a compelling romance, yet he made some of the most longest running couples in the anime.
Yeah. I think
He-
I don't know. It's hard to really decide which one you'd think would be more. Whether it be I'd say it's probably a tie between Krillin and 18 and Gohan and Videl.
I mean, he's got those two. I mean, help Bulma, Vegeta, Goku, Chi-Chi, they're still going strong.
Yeah. The Goku Chi-Chi one was kind of just like a hey, I guess we're getting married, so let's do it.
Yeah, I think some people online like to look way too deep into Goku and Chi-Chi's relationship. It's like, guys, it's a manga. You don't have to look that seriously into it.
Yeah.
You know
Uh,
what? You know what's really kind of eerie and kind of sad in hindsight?
what's that?
Last night I actually drove out to like there's a comic shop. So in Massachusetts they have a comic shop called Newbury Comics. They're not very common outside of like the New England area from what I've read, but there's one near me that's like 30 minutes away. I actually drove out because I last night I've been trying to complete the Dragon Ball like series, like all the Viz Bigs, and volume 6 has been hard to find. It's not in print at the moment, I guess. And there's a Newberry near me that had a copy of it. So I actually drove out. Like I just had like this like I don't know what it was, but someone was like, I need to go pick this up tomorrow. Like I don't know why I need to just go and do it. So I
Hmm.
went out and grabbed volume 6. And while I was there, they had 7, 8, and 9 as well. So I said, fuck it. I'm just gonna finish Dragon Ball.
Yeah.
They also had a copy of Spy Family Volume 11, which isn't supposed to be out for 2 weeks, so I grabbed that anyways.
Fair enough.
Um,
I was at Walmart earlier and I was keeping an eye out for it because they usually have Spy Family, but for some reason though they didn't even have 1 or 10, which is ones they usually have.
yeah, well, 11's not supposed to be out till the 19th, so the fact that it was on the shelf, I just thought was funny.
Yeah.
Um,
Apparently nobody cares about release dates.
no, they really don't. Um, yeah, it was fun. It was interesting though. I went out and grabbed those, and I completed my Dragon Ball collection. I was expecting today we were going to talk about Dragon Ball and everything. I was going to talk about finishing that, but then I woke up this morning. And it was like, oh damn.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the ironic thing is we were actually already planning on doing a Dragon Ball centric episode.
We had like 2 in a row planned.
Yeah, that's true.
Now we're gonna have 3 in a row. But yeah, it's crazy. Like, it's also I've noticed right away the now that he's passed away, you're already seeing like anything he was involved with is starting to spike up in price, and it's sold out everywhere.
I believe it. And a lot of that stuff was already super expensive. You try to get like, with the exception of like newer releases like Dragon Quest 11 or stuff that's been released digitally, like the original 3 Dragon Quests, like everything else is already pretty high priced. That's why I have a digital version of Chrono Trigger because there was no way I was going to get a physical copy.
Well, Chrono Trigger's was always expensive as shit, like
Yeah.
unfortunately. But I noticed it because there's a Dragon Ball art book that I've noticed has been on the shelves for a while now, and I've been meaning to pick it up, but it's one of those like art books are always like $20 to $30, so I'm always kind of like, I don't need it now. I went into Barnes and Noble today just out of curiosity to see if it was there, and the entire Dragon Ball section was freaking wiped. I was like, damn, like people are quick.
I believe it. Is that was it the visual history or whatever?
Yeah,
That's
just when
actually
I
that's actually the first of the Daizenshu. It was the only one they ever actually translated and brought over here. But the Daizenshu was to anyone who doesn't know, it was like the big encyclopedia of Dragon Ball that came out in Japan. And well, it was a multi book series. I want to say that started in the 80s, like the late 80s, early 90s, something like that. But it was just like this big thing with just like a bunch of facts and stuff that Toriyama had helped to put together.
plus a whole bunch of art.
Mhm. Well, that's the thing is, like each book had its own specific thing that it was based around. Like the first one was like artwork. Some of them were about the animation. Some of them were about um, like specific characters or whatever.
Hmm.
So
I will say though, I had picked this up months, like actually about a year ago, but I do still own this one. I'm kind of glad I grabbed it when I did because it's also hard to find now. I have the Dragon Quest illustrations book
nice.
that I picked up a couple of years ago when I saw it. Because I was thinking about this now. Everybody's obviously talking about Dragon Ball, which fair enough. But to me, I think the bigger loss in a lot of ways is Dragon Quest
Hmm.
because that series is fascinating to me because when you really think about it, that series up until very recently, since its inception, has had the same core like team basically keeping it afloat with like Yuji Horii as like the main writer and architect for the series. Akira Toriyama is the artist, and then I always forget the composer's name. He composed all the games up to 11 as well. And the composer had passed away a few years ago, so it was already the Trinity had already kind of started falling apart. But with Toriyama gone now, I don't even know what the future of Dragon Quest is going to be.
Yeah, well, I mean, the bright side with Dragon Quest is they've been reusing monster designs and stuff for years. So, um, I mean, they
True.
still have that huge pool of designs to pull from for future games and any new stuff. I mean, they could either try to find somebody new, they could try to find, they could pull Toyotaro for it.
True.
Um,
Yeah, because I was thinking about it. Like Daimo was in production still. I'm assuming at this point. And wasn't
yeah,
Toriyama pretty involved with it?
he was very heavily involved and was going to continue to be, which is a super bummer
Hmm.
because who knows what's going to happen with that now. I mean, I'm sure it'll still come out, but it's not going to take the same shape it was going to.
Probably not. Um, Now with the super manga, I know hasn't it basically been subtly but not officially confirmed that he's been kind of it even though it's credited to him, it's technically been like ghost ridden for a while now.
Well, Toriyama has still been like, um, from what I understand, pretty much throughout the entire super run for both animation and manga wise. He's basically just been kind of writing basic outlines for plot, and that's why the anime and the manga are so different. Is because he just kind of gives a basic outline of what he wants. So that's why there are certain elements in both versions that are the same, and then otherwise they're wildly different.
Yeah.
For example, the like Infinite Zamasu and the Goku Black arc like happens very differently in between the manga and anime, but is ultimately defeated in the same way.
Gotcha.
So it's just one of those kind of weird things where he was involved and he was helping with the story and with certain things because obviously Toyotaro was still learning under him. Um, so Toyotaro was still drawing. He was still drawing the manga, but Toriyama would kind of like guide him, like make some corrections to his art to make it more Dragon Ball style, stuff like that. You'll see some stuff like that in the back of some of the volumes of Dragon Ball Super. It'll show like Toyotaro's original attempt at the design, and then it'll show the changes Toriyama told him to make to it to make it a little bit more dynamic.
Yeah. Okay, that's understandable. No, because I had people have been wondering what the future of Super is going to be. I just assumed like it's going to probably continue on because I assume they already had so much of it laid out.
Yeah, I think at this point, Dragon Ball is just not good. It's just never going to die. Dragon Ball will probably outlive us all.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, I'm assuming then that like Togataro is probably going to take over just officially at some point.
from I don't think it's completely official to my knowledge, but um, I think as far as writing and drawing, for the most part, it's going to be Toyotaru. But I think Toriyama's son inherited it all, so I think it's
True.
probably going to be Sasuke Toriyama and Toyotaru working together going forward.
Yeah.
But that's just an assumption. We don't know 100% yet. But
Yeah, it's crazy. I still can't get over he was only 68.
yeah, he wasn't even in his 70s. And you got like so many people who were in there, friggin' Masako Nozawa is still going strong, screaming her lungs off.
Yeah. Have you seen all of her tributes she's been putting out?
Mm-hmm. And Oda,
Kishimoto.
Kishimoto, yeah.
Basically all of the big, pretty much everybody in the industry, like even like PlayStation made a post about it.
Time Magazine.
I mean, he's probably like the most influential anime artist ever at this point.
Yeah, pretty much.
Like, I don't even know if that's a debatable topic because when it comes to anime over here, it was pretty much Dragon Ball that really kind of pushed it through the that barrier initially.
Yeah, I mean there was some stuff beforehand, but Dragon Ball was the thing that really put it in the public eye.
Like,
I mean, you can make an argument for Pokemon, but I mean that was very clearly for children.
With Pokemon, though, the majority of people didn't even realize it was an anime.
True.
The only other real one that I could say is close is maybe Sailor Moon.
Yeah, but that's like the shoujo side of it, though.
Yeah, those were the big two though that I remember, and like Dragon Ball was definitely the one that had the longest like staying power because like there's a reason why it got brought back so many times.
Mm-hmm. For sure. Oh man, and then we got Sandland is getting all this attention now. They had the movie. The movie's kind of getting pretty much a series adaptation now, and I'm pretty sure I read somewhere that Sandland actually got a second arc written for it by Toriyama, and that's going to be like the second arc of the series, which is pretty cool to hear that there's going to be more Sandland. But I'm definitely even more so going to make playing the game a priority when that comes out.
Yeah, no, that's for sure. There's that. To me, I thought it was insane, just like the amount of things he worked on, like Dragon Quest, freaking Blue Dragon, Chrono Trigger. So many games, all with these incredibly iconic looks to them.
Yeah, for sure.
Like, I still think the cast of Dragon Quest IV is probably my favorite thing he ever created.
That's fair. As far as the video games from the ones I've played so far, I don't know. I really like Dragon Quest 3. I really like the whole
3, 4, and 5 all had such great characters and stories. I just like 4 because 4 gave us so many memorable ones, like the hero, the dancers, Tornico. How can anyone forget Tornico?
Yeah, right.
Fucking entire chapter just running a store, just because fuck it, why not?
That was actually one of the most entertaining parts of the game for me. I was like, this is kind of awesome.
I love the fact that you go on an entire mission just like to build your store, and then you just spend an entire chapter running said store until the other party members show up.
Yeah. But yeah. I think this is pretty much cemented that because I literally finished playing Final Fantasy 2 today. Finally. And I think this is probably going to push me to finally playing Chrono Trigger. That's going to be my next game.
Oh, Chrono Trigger is so good. Like,
I've had it on my Vita for over a year, maybe even 2 years now, and I just haven't got because I've been putting so much time and effort into Dragon Quest and Final Fantasy, and then there's all the other games that I've wanted to play.
Yeah,
so I just kept putting it off.
Yeah, Chrono Trigger not only has his art, but also just like one of the most interesting and unique stories in an RPG, with the whole time travel thing, plus the battle system, which is like an interesting evolution of the classic Final Fantasy battle system, but it's also fully unique in its own way.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you'll definitely enjoy Chrono Trigger. There's a reason why it's considered one of the greatest RPGs ever made.
Fair enough. Yeah.
And
So
I love that Chrono is in that final Dragon Ball movie
yeah, right.
with the
Well,
bad
at least out of
haircut.
the classic ones.
Yeah, rather the dragon.
Mm-hmm. And then I don't know. Granola has a very. I mean, I know I haven't played Chrono Trigger yet, but I have a general idea of the aesthetic. And Granola, it looks very Chrono Trigger.
Yeah.
Which I was actually thinking about reading the Granola arc because recently the final volume for that dropped over here. So
Volume 20.
yeah.
I gotta finally sit down and read most of Dragon Ball Super.
Yeah. I know we were talking about doing episodes on it and stuff, but now part of me almost wants to kind of do what we've been doing with the Pokemon one, but with the Dragon Ball manga, to start from the very beginning.
Yeah. Yeah, that would be a long taking, but it would be worth it probably.
Yeah. I mean, that was kind of like when I was still playing around with the idea of doing a podcast, like one of the things I really wanted to do was just a completely Toriyama centric podcast. Like just covering everything he's written, everything he's worked on, like the Dragon Quest games and all that. And that was one of the ideas I was toying with for a while. I didn't know how I was gonna well, I mean, I wasn't expecting you to recruit me for a third podcast on your channel. So
Yeah.
I wasn't gonna ask you to do it with me because I figured that would be too much for you, but here we are.
Yeah. You know, I also really want to read now, but it's going to be hard to find just because it's not the most in print manga. I really want to sit down and just read Dr. Stump now.
Dr. Slump, yeah.
Slump, yeah.
Yeah, I have the first 3 volumes, and I've been meaning to get around to getting the rest, so I think that might be my next project, especially since I'm caught up now in Spy Family until the new one comes out in a couple weeks. Or week, however long, week and a half.
Yeah, Dr. Stump looks really interesting to me just because, like, all the humor and stuff, that and, like, what's her name?
Raleigh.
All the O'Reilly episodes will make probably more sense after reading it.
Yeah, and it's a pretty long series, too. It's 18 volumes.
Yeah, that's decently long for... It's funny what I consider long, because, like, I think the longest series I own is Inuyasha, which is a 56er.
That's pretty long, yeah. I think mine is Naruto. That's like 72 plus 1, because it was that seventh Hokage and the 7 Springs volume, which is like the 73rd unofficial. And then I have 12 or 13 volumes of Boruto on top of that, so that's pretty long.
If you count all of Dragon Ball together, that's pretty long. Because, like, what is it?
As of right now, the one that just released over here, that's 62 volumes.
Yeah, and that's counting Super, Z, and the original.
Mm-hmm.
That's crazy.
Yeah, that's pretty. That's 10 more volumes, and it'll have as many volumes as original Naruto.
Yeah, that's already long beyond it because its sequel series is still going as well.
Yeah, and I think I'd have to look into it, but I want to say Boruto has the same amount of volumes, or at least close to it. But I'm super behind on Boruto, though. At least collecting the volume. I mean, I've been reading the chapters every month, but I haven't been collecting the volumes.
Yeah, that's how I feel with most manga, honestly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because I think the only other really long one I have is like Black Clover, and that's like currently like 34 volumes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I have. Yeah, Naruto is definitely by far the longest one that I have. I'd say Dragon Ball is probably the second, and then Full Metal Alchemist.
That's like 27, I think.
Mm-hmm. I think, yeah.
It's like one less than Rurouni Kenshin.
Mm-hmm.
Are you speaking of Full Metal Alchemist? I saw her new series in the store today. I was tempted to pick it up, but I haven't got around to it yet.
I forgot she had a new series.
Yeah, I noticed it because I heard the art style. The main character on the cover looks identical to Riza, so I was kind of like, oh, that's interesting.
Hmm.
I don't think it's the same character, but
Probably not. I'll have to look into it though. Sounds interesting.
yeah.
But yeah, I need to. One of the other things that I really intend to do now is I need to get the rest of the Dragon Ball Culture books. Anyone who's a fan of Dragon Ball and hasn't heard of it or really given much thought to it, I definitely highly recommend getting the Dragon Ball Culture books written by Derek Badula. They're extremely knowledgeable. The first volume itself just covers pretty much Toriyama's life leading up to creating Dragon Ball. And then everything beyond that is like pretty much a full chapter by chapter breakdown, which is it's a really interesting read. And he's got a few other nonfiction Dragon Ball books as well. I haven't read too many of them yet, but I need to get more of them.
Yeah. It's funny. I was looking at some of the tribute posts going around. One of the ones that I saw that really was like really wholesome, but also like crazy how long ago it was a picture of him and his son, who was an infant at the time, and they were playing Dragon Quest One on the Famicom.
Mm-hmm.
It's just really funny to see that.
I've seen that one floating around too.
Have you ever seen the original slime art design that Yuji Horii sent to Akira Toriyama?
I don't think so. Maybe.
I'll send it to you real quick. It is basically Yuji Horii sent Toriyama this idea he had for what the slime should look like in Dragon Quest, and basically Toriyama responded back with what the iconic slime design that we have now.
Mm-hmm.
But if you look at Yuji Horii's original design, it's like, whoa. Right, I just sent it to you in Discord. Yeah, that thing in the corner there is what Yuji Horii was like. So this is what I'm thinking for slimes. And Toriyama's like, Toriyama's basically like, no.
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely like Toriyama's design better.
He created arguably one of the most iconic images in video game history.
For sure.
Because everybody loves the Dragon Quest slimes.
Yeah, especially the Puff Puff with the slimes.
Yeah. I know it's hilarious because Dragon Quest One is a good game, but it's horribly aged. One of my favorite parts about playing it is just like you're grinding in the field and it's just a slime draws near, and it's like, here we go again.
I don't know. I found a lot to like about the first one when I played it. I didn't find it too bad.
You got to play the original NES version.
That's fair. I was playing the remastered version on Switch.
The NES version, I still like it, but oh man, the jank. There's so much jank.
I can imagine. Yeah, I wanted to share something kind of funny that I haven't read it in a while, so I might have some of my details mixed up. But in the first Dragon Ball Culture book, I want to say it was when he's still early on in Dr. Slump, I think. And his editor at the time, Torishima, was on him about Shonen Jump wants you to submit a picture of yourself for the collected volumes or for the magazine or something like that. I wasn't sure exactly what it was, but he was getting on him about it. And Toriyama just kept, he's a very private person. He just kept putting it off. And then eventually Toriyama put his foot down and was like, dude, seriously, you gotta freaking do this. Like, this is bullshit. You can't keep doing that. So what Toriyama did was he waited until the cutoff day, and he took a picture of himself taking a piss, and he sent that in, and they fucking published it.
Of course they did. Different times, and also Japan.
Yeah, it's that's just like pure Toriyama right there. Like that's the kind of guy he was. You know,
So
I don't know.
The man was very self-deprecating at times. And one of his most famous trademarks was his tendency to forget things that he created. What would you say is one of your favorite Toriyama forgot moments?
I don't know. That's a good one, honestly.
To me, I mean, you can't.
Maybe Launch.
Launch is the most famous one. To me, the fact that he forgot about Raditz was pretty crazy too.
Considering, well, I mean, you can kind of throw them in the same boat because that was like at the same time. Because with the Launch thing, I find the Launch thing really funny because, like, yeah, there was that gap between Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z. Like, you know, we have that separation because of the anime, and like even the manga in the West has split up like that. But in Japan, when the manga was running, there was no separation. There was no part 2. It was just the Dragon Ball manga. It went from Goku meeting Bulma all the way to Goku flying away with Oob. So it was literally the very next week from Goku flying off in the tournament with Chi-Chi to Raditz showing up.
Yeah.
And just in that week, he completely forgot about her. After writing her for years.
Yeah. I mean, that one is probably worse in the sense that like he did write about her. The Raditz thing is more that was more like the Bardock special that just completely forgot he existed. Which is like for the amount of like impact that Raditz has on the story, it's really funny that he forgot about him.
Which is really funny because he didn't come up with Bardock, but he didn't forget about him.
Nope.
He remembered him enough to make a whole chapter of him in the Dragon Ball Minus, and then include him in the Broly movie.
Yep. I mean, he did remember Raditz in the Broly movie though, so we'll give him that.
True, but I find that really funny that the character that he didn't even write, he remembered more than the characters he did write.
That's like my favorite excuse though. Whenever someone has like a question about something in Dragon Ball, they're like, "This doesn't make any sense in regards to the lore," and my response is always just, "Toriyama forgot."
Whatever.
He probably did.
He probably just was building a model car and just flipped out of his mind.
Oh, the androids have unlimited energy. Oops.
Yeah, right. Why is he tired? Yeah.
He got bored.
Yeah, pretty much. He switched to iPhone.
And we still can't forget the fact that he basically brought Dragon Ball back to life because he refused to let it die with evolution.
Yeah, which is reasonable. And plus, like, I don't know if you've heard anything about like what the original concept for Battle of Gods was before he got involved. Very different.
I can imagine.
Because it was I think it was some of the old anime people that were working on it beforehand, and then I don't remember who reached out to who, but ultimately they and Toriyama were talking, and they showed him their ideas for the scripts, and he was like, no, no, let me take a shot at this, and he wrote it to be what we know it today. But apparently the original idea was, well, first of all, Beerus wasn't a cat; he was like a lizard man. Or a bat or something like that.
I would not have liked that nearly as much.
And supposedly the idea was that because I think it's pretty well known at this point that the gods of destruction and the angels are named after alcohol. You know, Beerus is beer, Whis is whiskey. But Beerus's name was that before Toriyama touched it. But it was originally supposed to be a play on virus, And that's because Beerus's original idea was that he would infect people with evil, and that's why the Saiyans are so shitty. Was because Beerus had infected them with evil, and like that was kind of like the setup for the movie. I don't know what was gonna happen after that, but that was the original concept. And Toriyama was like, "No, we're not doing that."
I'm not gonna lie, that plot is vaguely intriguing, just because I'm curious where they'd go with it. But yeah, I prefer what they did with Beerus, because the whole reason why Beerus is such a likable character is the fact that he basically doesn't give a fuck at all, and he's just doing it because he feels like it.
Pretty much, everything is a whim with him, which is just way more endearing. I mean, honestly, I like the idea of like the much more lighthearted, whimsical romp that we got with Battle of Gods than something serious like, I don't know, Wrath of the Dragon or Broly.
We got the bingo dance. That is the best part of that movie.
It's wonderful.
that in a drunk Bulma being like, "Hey everybody, guess what? Vegeta has friends."
Yeah, that's too funny.
They really nailed it with that movie. Like, that movie single-handedly, I think, made everyone love Dragon Ball again.
That movie is like the perfect distillation of what Dragon Ball is. Like, it had just the right amount of like lighthearted comedy. The action was good. The animation was on point. The musical numbers throughout, like, it was just perfect.
Voice cast was on perfect. I mean, I'm not the hugest fan of some of the recasts, but they did a really good job.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it would have been nice if they had pulled more of the original actors, at least for the English dub. Obviously, in Japan, over the years, they had lost some of their actors regardless, just from old age or whatever. There's numerous reasons, but
I'm actually kind of I'm sad because I'm saying this and it's going to obviously push back a certain other anime that I'm supposed to watch, but I kind of want to watch the Dragon Ball series again now.
Yeah, don't start picking fights with Slade now.
Yeah, he'll get over it.
Yeah,
eventually.
Well, I mean, it could just be more incentive for you to do the manga thing with me.
Yeah, I haven't watched Original Z in so long though. Like, I've experienced the story about 1,000 times via video game adaptations, but I haven't watched I've seen Kai, but I have not seen original like Vanilla Z in a very long time, and I'm kind of itching to re-experience that.
Mm-hmm.
Like original dub and all.
Yeah. When you say original dub,
well, original the orange box Blu-ray version that's out now.
Okay.
Obviously not shitty Funimation first attempt.
Well, I'd honestly argue that has its own merits of wanting, like, its own reasons to watch that particular version.
It's entertaining at first just because it's like, wow, Sean Schimmel is really trying to be Peter Kalamis.
Yeah. Get away from my friends.
And Sabat had not really figured out what he wanted to do with Vegeta yet. But
he was doing like the serious like smoker voice for Vegeta at the time.
Yeah. Honestly, it'd be harder to do because I'd have to find it via illegal means, but an Ocean dub rewatch would be interesting too, because I've never seen beyond, like, other than like clips, I've never seen the full thing beyond the end of its original run over here.
Well, I mean, you can at least watch the what's called the Rock the Dragon set, which is what we got for the Ocean dub up through like the Ginyu saga, or the beginning of I think like right when Goku got dynamic was when it cut off, but
yeah,
it's right up to that point, and then the first 3 Z movies.
Yeah, I still think Strong World is better with the Ocean dub.
World's Strongest.
World's Strongest, yeah.
Strong World is One Piece.
God damn it, Alex. You're confusing me now. Yeah, World's Strongest though. The Ocean made those movies more interesting somehow.
Yeah, the Ocean dub of those movies are actually really good. It's like the
Yeah,
best thing Ocean did with Dragon Ball. You know what? I'd like to if it was even possible to find, I'd like to see the Ocean dub of Kai.
that apparently exists. It's never surfaced once.
There's
The
no home
most
release for it. Pretty much, if you speak English, you get Funimation on home release, no matter what. Like,
Yeah, apparently it never aired either because nobody has remembers hearing it, but it apparently was recorded. Uh, because for years, apparently, it's been confirmed that Richard Ian Cox voiced Goku, which is still the weirdest thing ever, and I kind of want to hear it, but at the same time, I don't. Um, and it used to be credited in all of his like IMDb's and like voiceographies on like all the platforms, but it's been taken off since. So I don't really know what to say about that. It's interesting though. I really want to know what his take on Goku was, and
yeah,
why did they use him and not Kirby Morrow, who was still alive at the time?
who knows?
Yeah,
But,
yeah, because Goku is weird in the Ocean dub because he had 3 voices over the course of it.
yeah,
Because it was Ian James Corlett for like the first part, then Peter Calamus was the most well known for a while, and then Kirby Morrow finished it out.
Mhm.
And Kirby Morrow to me is interesting because it's literally Moroku Goku, and I still find that really interesting.
Murogoku.
Yeah. I'm just waiting for Goku to like touch a girl's butt and be like, "Will you have my babies?"
I forgot that was a thing. Will you bear my child?
Yeah. Inuyasha is a fun rewatch, especially if you're not prepared for it. That's all I'll say.
God, that's a show I need to watch again. But
yeah, it's kind of funny. Like I was looking through like all the because I just scroll Twitter and it's nothing but tributes right now, which is amazing because like you realize just how much this man mattered to so many people. Like,
yeah,
I usually don't care about celebrities that much, but like Akira Toriyama passing, that just like hit me hard this morning. Like,
I didn't go to work today.
I know.
I took a personal day.
I know. It's like I couldn't scroll the internet because I was just getting emotional. I was like, all right, I'm like, I can't be getting upset at work right now, so I had to put my phone down. Because anytime I would bring up Twitter, it'd be nothing but tributes from like everybody in the podcasting community, any voice actor that worked on Dragon Ball. Like Eric Vale posted a really nice thing with a picture of Trunks, basically thanking the man for basically starting his career.
Yeah.
Pretty much
all the Funimation alums owe their careers to Dragon Ball.
Yeah, in a lot of ways, because Dragon Ball basically
made Funimation.
Yeah,
Funimation wasn't doing shit before they got Dragon Ball.
Nah, the whole reason they started doing dubs is because Ocean was too expensive, and that's why Ocean doesn't really get work anymore.
Yeah. But yeah, I went to the store earlier and I was walking through Walmart and I was passing by like the video games section and stuff, and I happened to see like where they have like all the anime and video game figures and stuff, and I saw a little Goku plushie, and I grabbed it for my daughter. It's just something I've been wanting to do for a long time, and I was like, well, if I'm ever gonna do it, today's the day.
Yeah.
So
it's just sad because it's like that is like you really don't realize how many things that man really did for American culture and just animation and history in general.
Even outside of what he did himself, because he influenced and inspired so many people across the world.
Toei Animation is Toei Animation because of Akira Toriyama.
Mm-hmm. I mean,
like
all of the big three, Bleach, Naruto, One Piece, they all owe everything to Dragon Ball.
Yeah.
Everything.
I mean,
So that's why I changed my profile into Discord to what it is now. Is the picture of I'm sure anyone listening is if you're a fan of Dragon Ball, you've probably seen it online. It's the drawing of like Goku and Vegeta as camp counselors with all the newbie anime pro tags around the campfire, and he's telling them stories, and that moves me in a different way now.
Yeah. I mean, to me the two most touching were definitely the Kishimoto and the Oda messages I saw.
Yeah.
That photo of Goku with like Oda's style face is very interesting, and I kind of like it and hate it at the same time.
Yeah.
Kishimoto's thing was really nice too. I mean, especially because those guys basically, some ways owe their careers to him as well.
Yeah. Well, even like I mentioned earlier how I have the Naruto manga. When I was buying them, because I was buying like the big box set, so I buy them like 20 something volumes at a time that way. And how like when you're reading volumes of manga, they always have like little informational blurbs, or they'll tell little stories in between chapters and stuff. And when you go through the Naruto manga, there's so many times where he's talking about how, I used to read Dr. Slump in elementary school and I loved it. And then I moved into middle school and high school and I was reading Dragon Ball. And like literally throughout the entirety of his life, he's been consuming Toriyama's work.
Yeah. I mean, you can tell just by like all the references in like just manga in general that a lot of people were.
Mm-hmm.
Because he really is like the old guard of manga. Like I'm trying to think of I mean, obviously there's older manga series, but like
yeah,
Dragon Ball is really the one where I think it became like the mainstream thing it is.
Yeah, for sure.
Like we wouldn't have these full walls of manga at bookstores nowadays if it wasn't for Dragon Ball.
No, absolutely not. It wouldn't have blown up the way it has in the West.
His art style too is, I still think it's untouchable. Like, yeah, I mean his human designs are all very similar after a while, but like his monster designs are still like, to me, like the greatest things. I think the man made some of the best like enemy and monster designs just in general.
Mm. And I love how so many of his like Dragon Quest designs and stuff were literally just like kind of reused designs from his manga.
Yeah.
Like the robot monsters. They're just the pirate robot from the Red Ribbon arc.
Yep. And a lot of his human characters, like you'll see in the background, you'll be like, "Oh, that's just Chi-Chi back there with a different hairstyle."
Yeah, that's Chi-Chi with the yellow hair or something.
Yeah.
Something like that.
There's a couple protagonists in Dragon Ball that look a little bit like Goku.
Yeah, and Gohan. There's at least a couple.
Yeah.
There's a couple of Trunks lookalikes.
I mean, Chrono was basically that guy from Wrath of the Dragon.
Yeah, Tapion.
Tapion. That name is so goofy.
Come to think of it, obviously Tapion is supposed to be tapioca. So you got tapioca, then nowadays you got granola, who's kind of like a redesign. That's interesting.
Yeah. I doubt Toriyama thought that far out, but
probably not. Well, I'm pretty sure that arc was mostly, I don't know if I'm getting that confused with Moro or not, but I want to say that was that arc was a big like Toyotaru drive arc. But
I've never asked, was did Toriyama aware of like Team 4-Star in the abridged series?
I highly doubt it.
Okay.
To my knowledge, the only thing he really used was email.
Okay. I just always wondered if he was aware of that or not.
I don't think so.
Okay, so he never approved or disapproved of it.
Because he didn't really have a full grasp of the effect that Dragon Ball has had around the world. He I used to hear stories about when Battle of Gods was coming out. He came to America for like one appearance, like really quick, and he was like blown away. Like he did not expect it to be this much of a huge event.
Yeah, and it's only gotten bigger.
Mm-hmm.
I think now Dragon Ball is bigger than it was back when it was like airing.
Yeah, well, I mean, with the with the way that the internet has blown up since then, things are shared a lot more easily. People learn things a lot more. It's not just word of mouth anymore, And yeah, as we were saying before, how anime has become a lot more like mainstream. It's a lot easier for people to find these things, and it's pretty much common knowledge that Dragon Ball is where it all began.
Yeah. I mean, for the most part, I mean, and you'll get the occasional person to be like, well, Astro Boy came first. And it's like, that's nice. But
yeah, well, I mean, Goku's hairstyle came from somewhere.
Yeah.
It's literally where his hairstyle came from, was Astro Boy.
Yeah. That is true. Was there a Dr. Slump anime before Dragon Ball, or did they get... There was, okay. Yeah, it just never came out over here,
right? There was, I believe, one pilot episode done by Harmony Gold. And that was as far as it went. That's as sad as this is. I'm hoping that this will be the push to finally get a Dr. Slump dub,
or maybe a
proper one,
or maybe even a remake, because
they've already done that once and it didn't work out too well, from what I understand. There was a Dr. Slump remake in the 90s, I believe.
All right. Yeah, I wasn't sure, because I know like that's been kind of a thing, like going on recently with like old manga, or getting like remakes that are just like popping off now. Like I know Urusei Yatsura just recently got a full-on like remake. That was Rumiko Takahashi's first work, the one with the alien and like the like cheetah bikini.
Yeah.
Because there was an old anime of that's very obscure, but the new one's been going pretty strong from what I've heard.
Yeah.
So, yeah, you never know. Maybe.
Yeah. Well, hopefully. I mean, we've been getting some of his stuff like slowly. We got the manga theater, Toriyama's manga theater, a couple years ago. We've gotten some of his like single volume, like his like one shots, like Jocko, Sandland, Kawa. And then obviously we've gotten the Dr. Slump and Dragon Ball mangas. So I don't know. I'm hoping, especially with Sandland coming out, being like probably the last. Well, I'm sure they had a bunch of stuff already set in place for Daima, so I guess that'll technically be the last thing he touched. But
yeah,
we got Sandland in just a couple weeks coming out here, which will be nice. It'd be nice to have a little bit more Toriyama stuff.
Yeah, it shocks me. Like Daima was just announced, and then he's gone already, and we still don't really even know what Daima's going to be.
And it was like, it just sucks because this was like the first time he was really like gung ho. I'm going to be super involved in this particular. He was never even really involved in the Dragon Ball anime, the original, or Dr. Slump, or any of that. He was either writing the manga or he was busy doing his own thing. You can do an anime, and then he just went about his life. He was
drawing assets for Dragon Quest, most likely.
Yeah, but like this is the first time he was actually going to be full on. Like, I am pumped to work on this anime, and it just sucks.
Yeah,
he could have had so many more years.
I hope he had enough of his like DNA into it at this point that it hopefully will continue on in the direction he wanted, and it won't become another GT that loses itself as it goes on.
Well, that's the thing, is unlike some other writers, Toriyama doesn't plan.
No, he doesn't. That's the unfortunate part of it.
So he pretty much only have what he's already told them. what he had already decided on what he wanted for the direction, and that's probably it. He didn't. I highly doubt he had a master plan for that series. I highly doubt he had numerous arcs mapped out in his mind. He is not Isayama in that way. Isayama mapped everything out he wanted with Attack on Titan. Toriyama rode by the seat of his pants, and that's just the way he wrote, and it worked for him.
Yeah.
But
I still wonder though how long Daima was even supposed to be, because it's been very unclear if that was supposed to be a long thing or a short thing.
I mean, I could see it being, especially now, I could see it being long. I guess it depends. Like, is Toyotaro gonna be involved in that on top of writing the manga? Is Sasuke Toriyama gonna take his dad's place and work on? I don't know. Who knows?
Does his son do anything like that we know of, or is he kind of a private person as well?
I'm not 100% sure. It never really occurred to me to really look too much into it. I just know that he, from what I understand, I could be mistaken, but from what I read, he has taken over the estate.
Okay.
So
and that makes sense.
I don't know if he's an artist in his own right, or if he writes it all, or if he does something completely different, or if he just lived off of his dad's money. I have no clue.
Yeah. That's true.
I mean, only time will tell, I guess. One thing I know for certain is that Dragon Ball isn't going to end anytime soon.
No, they're going to. I mean, it wasn't going to end. It's such a cash cow franchise that it was going to keep going forever.
Mm-hmm. And it has that life in it where it can go forever, regardless of who's making it. So,
I mean, it's honestly a story and series that's literally outlived its creator, and it's basically transcended like anime into it's part of just pop culture now.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, we've had Goku floats at how many Thanksgiving parades now?
I mean, you have like NFL players that get Crunchyroll endorsements because they're Dragon Ball fans.
Yeah,
it's just like crazy shit.
UFC
like that.
Fighters and wrestlers dressing up like Dragon Ball people, and you got friggin' like football players like doing their was it like the end zone celebration, doing kamehamehas at each other and shit.
That was my favorite thing I saw on Twitter today. It was just a post that just said, "Admit it, you all tried to do a kamehameha at one point in your life."
Oh yeah, actually, when I was a kid, I must have been probably about Xander's age, maybe a little younger. And I remember having a dream because this was at my old house too. So yeah, I would have been around Xander's age. I remember having a dream one night that I was training with Trunks, and I shit you not, I woke up in like the like one leg on my knee, the other on my foot, like kind of like that kneeling up position, with my hands doing the kamehameha. I woke up like that. I shit you not. Like,
I tried to do it at recess once.
Yeah,
I got laughed at after. But
do you remember that video of the kid who like had this whole theory about how like the concept of Super Saiyan like can happen, you can do it if you practice enough, and then he spent like the next 5 minutes screaming into the camera, and then at the end he's just like, "I'm a Super Saiyan." And the whole time you're watching, you think he's gonna like add an effect or something. Like, no, it's just him screaming into the fucking camera.
It's amazing how much of that series really is just screaming.
Yeah.
And we like it that way.
That's one thing I do like about Kai, though, is that they kind of sped up a lot of the stare downs. Where like it's hard for me to really describe without like a visual example, but like where you'd see, like, for instance, if someone's like juggling an opponent, like hitting them. They'll fly off in a direction. They'll teleport behind them. They'll hit them again. They'll go flying off, teleport behind them. They'll just do that like 6-7 times. Whereas that would have taken like a full like 2 minutes in the original Z, where it'd be like hit, soar, like that. But in Kai, it's like boom, 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 boom. Like, they speed it up, so it's like actually like a lot faster and more dynamic.
Which is even funnier because in original Dragon Ball it was even slower somehow.
Well, I mean, with original Dragon Ball, it made more sense for it to be that way.
True.
Because it was more martial arts based and less like whose glowy hair is stronger.
See, like, I love going back to original Dragon Ball, and like anytime they do a Kamehameha, it's so slow, and you're like, wow, this used to be like the ultimate attack.
I love that the first beam struggle was just Goku and Roshi in the tournament.
Yeah. Jackie Chun.
Jackie Chun. I'm sorry, Jackie Chun.
Jackie Chun.
Don't want to pull a Yamcha and get it wrong.
That's still my favorite thing is nobody noticed.
Mm-hmm. The only person who did notice was shamed for it until he was like gaslit into believing that he was wrong.
Oh man, I missed original Dragon Ball is just special to me. Like, it was such a different show.
It was just so charming.
Exactly. Like, it's so down to earth compared to like later Dragon Ball, which was wacky and all over the place.
Mm-hmm. For sure.
It was also really, really weird though in comparison.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, look, you just look at the title of the theme song, Mystical Adventure. That's what it was. It wasn't about sci-fi crazy laser battles or anything like that. It was adventure. It was magic. It was meeting friends along the way.
I also love the fact that every like friend Goku runs into is a freaking prick when he first runs into them.
Mm-hmm.
Like, other than Chi-Chi, if anything, Chi-Chi got more dickish later on.
Yeah. There's very few characters that I think. What's funny is I think the only characters that weren't dicks to him right when they first met and became friends are the ones that ended up fading into obscurity, like Ader.
Hey, he appeared for one scene in Super and then got blipped out of existence.
Yep. About right.
I mean, he's in Kakarot at least.
True.
Along with Suno.
Hey, he had the Path to Power movie.
True. And they both gave energy during the final Spirit Bomb.
Yeah, they even recognized his voice somehow, even though he was an adult. Even though the last time they saw him, he was 12.
Yeah. I always assumed that Goku ran around and visited them over time, but you never really know.
I don't. I don't assume that at all. He didn't even visit his family.
Well, no, he doesn't care about them. He cares about his friends.
Yeah. But
he still thinks Chi-Chi's a dessert or something. I don't know.
She's just the beautiful lady who lives in his house.
And yells at him.
And yells at him and makes delicious food.
And won't let him train his child.
Right.
Who he also doesn't really care about that often.
Yeah, well.
Goku's a fun character.
Oh, yeah. I mean, there's so many fun characters throughout Dragon Ball.
It's kind of messed up in hindsight, though, when you realize Goku is technically a character with brain damage the entire series.
Oh, yeah. Super brain damage. He almost died.
Yeah. It's just like, when you forget that reveal, it's like, wow. It all makes sense, and it's kind of sad.
Mm-hmm. That is what that scene. She's like, did you ever hit your head really hard? It's like, every day. Why?
Yeah. Kind of like you wish he would get to meet his like dad once for real, and his dad would just be like, what the fuck happened?
Well, he never like officially meets him in the official. But there is a little something with Goku and Bardock in the Granola arc.
Oh, okay.
It's nice.
Because I always just think of like in Dragon Ball Fighters, if you play as Goku and then you play as Bardock, and he'll be like, Kakarot, is that you?
Yeah, well, yeah, it was. They did that in like was it Budokai 3?
Yeah, it's in
There's a
there
similar
too.
thing where Bardock would be like, "Wait, you're mine," and then Goku would be like, "Hey, you have my hair."
Your dad was a brilliant scientist.
Yeah,
Still the dumbest line in the series, but I love it.
one of my favorite things in the Ocean dub.
They just made shit up on like the go because they really didn't know what they were translating.
Mm-hmm. God, it was just so much. Now I definitely feel like I want to, because I had so many other mangas I wanted to read, but now I just feel like I should just reread Dragon Ball from the beginning, especially now that I have all the way through Granola in Super. I feel like now's the time.
It's just funny to me because like after watching the anime and going back to the manga, you realize just how much of the anime was filler.
Oh yeah.
Like I think my favorite still is like Chi-Chi only appears once and then she doesn't come back again until the tournament.
But she pops up like a bunch in the anime.
Yeah.
Which actually like oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say, like, I still think one of the best arcs in that anime is the wedding dress arc. Because it's the one time Chi-Chi was likable.
Yeah, I really like. I think that arc is underrated. I enjoyed that. It's a nice little 5-episode romp.
It's literally the best version of Chi-Chi, and they never went back.
Yeah.
That arc also had my favorite character, the sexist mountain.
Yes.
Like, what a fucking random thing.
Oh god. Yeah, and I just feel like Dragon Ball had some of the best filler.
It had some good ones. Like, I mean, Goku and Piccolo licenses, that one is so popular that they have to put it in everything now.
Well, even just even if I'm just talking like original Dragon Ball, like I loved the filler in original Dragon Ball. It was like like pretty much every Goku training, like he has like a good 6-7 episodes before each tournament arc that are just filler episodes. Like each one is like a standalone filler episode of him training, and they're always like really like. There's one where he goes to the demon world, and there's one where like he fights the Inashikacho, which is like a giant pig with antlers.
I mean, hell, like even in Z, the whole tournament in the afterlife, like where we get introduced to like Pycon, one of the most underappreciated like anime only characters there is.
I think that's probably like the fan favorite.
Well, he was just such a fun character that his movie appearance is still like one of the greatest things ever, where he spends the entire movie yelling at a wall.
Yeah.
I wish they made him canon because he is so entertaining.
Yeah, I think he would have been next, the next canonized character.
Yeah. That was great. Even going back to like original Dragon Ball, like I think original Dragon Ball had some of my favorite villains in the series too.
Like General Blue,
Mercenary
Nazi.
Mercenary Zhao is still like the funniest one.
Yeah, he was great. My favorite, like one of my favorite scenes in all of Dragon Ball was when he was just like walking through the town. Like I think he's like waiting to get a new outfit made because Goku fried his old one.
Yeah,
and he's just walking around, and like some dude comes up, like is like hiding in the shadows, and like goes to shoot him in the back, and the dude literally, like all in one motion, flips his flip flop into the air over his head, behind his back, deflects the bullet with the fucking flip flop, and without a single moment's hesitation, slips it back on and keeps walking.
Yep. Like, my favorite is his way of transportation, where he pulls that giant like pylon out of the ground and just throws it and then just jumps on it.
Or how he killed General Blue by hitting him with the temple with his tongue.
Yeah. Which is hilarious because like he was like the unstoppable force when he first got brought up, and then nowadays Goku could literally just flick him out of existence.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's part of the reason why I love original Dragon Ball so much, is because he was still holding tight to his Dr. Slump roots, but with that martial arts actiony setting.
and the power scaling wasn't absurd.
Yeah.
Like I still remember like when Yamcha was a threat, like in his
Mhm.
first appearance.
Yeah.
I'll never forget Yamcha's like appearance where he like runs into Chi Chi and then fucking sucker punches her, and it's like Jesus.
Right. Well, she did try to cut his head off.
Well, I mean, it was justified.
Yeah, it was self-defense. All right.
He snuck up on her, and
Yeah.
she was
Well,
kind of a nervous wreck.
no kidding.
I just that clip of her of him just like punching her in the gut and knocking her out. I'm like, wow, what a different anime it was.
How about Monster Carrot?
Yeah, that's a character that he gets brought back in the games every now and then. I always laugh.
Yeah, he's in Attack of the Saiyans.
Yep, because Yamcha has an entire arc before the game starts. Like,
Even though I'm pretty sure in an interview, Toriyama was asked about Monster Carrot because he brought up the fact that Roshi destroyed the moon. And he was like, so what happened to them? Are they dead? And he just said something along the lines of like, no, they're alive. They're just floating through space. Just endlessly forever.
that is a very Toriyama answer.
Yeah.
He probably made it up on the spot right there.
Did you know the kais are grown from fruits on trees?
I did not. I
Yeah.
did not. Though.
That's another a golden Toriyama nugget that from an interview.
He probably like someone asked him about the monster carrot on the moon, and he probably was like, "Fuck, I did leave him up there."
Mm. I swear to God, like whenever he would have these questions posed to him during interviews, he would literally just make shit up on the spot. Like,
Yeah.
I'm dead certain that was what was happening.
Because he probably was like, "I don't remember that."
And everyone's sitting around with their paper and their pens, just writing it down vigorously, like fascinating. Tell me more.
Yeah, the fan fiction author's like, "I need to write a story about this."
Yeah, no kidding. Oh God.
That wasn't a dig at fan fiction writers. There are very talented ones out there. I'm just making a joke.
If anybody wants to read a really good Dragon Ball fan fiction, check out Dragon Ball Multiverse. It's been going since before Battle of Gods. I haven't caught up with it in a couple of years, but to my knowledge, it's still going. It's a really fun story.
That's a good one. The best modern one was probably Dragon Ball Dynasty, but that got like deleted. But it's I guess back now.
It's my first time hearing about it. I haven't checked it out. I've read a little bit of what the hell was it called? Like Zero Verse or no, that's not it. I'm not 100% sure. I think it was a Chinese fan manga. It revolved around Babidi came back for some reason and was like trying to awaken the Booness in Oob. Something along those lines. I didn't get super far into it, but it seemed like an interesting story. And then there's there's the classic AF.
Yeah. Dynasty was an interesting take. It was another one of the classic "What if Raditz was good" arcs, but instead of just being Raditz, it basically it's the divergence starts where Goku's dead after the fight with Raditz, and he falls off the Snake Way and goes to hell, and he runs into his family down there.
Oh yeah,
and then brings them back, and then basically it redoes the entire Dragon Ball storyline as if Bardock, Gine, and Raditz were all alive.
Oh, so it must be a relatively new manga.
Yeah, it's well, it's not a manga. This is strictly a story written
text based.
Yeah,
gotcha.
It was really big. Like it had they were just starting like the Majin Buu arc.
Wow.
And then the author, I guess, had like a mental breakdown or something, deleted it, and then brought it back, and they're rewriting it now. So
from the beginning.
Well, they're not fully rewriting it. They're fixing up the chapters and reposting them. They're like halfway through the repost now.
Okay. That sounds
I remember following that one for a while though, because that one was really well written, and it was like one of the more interesting takes on the whole bringing the family back kind of thing.
Yeah.
Because I mean, everybody knows Masako X and his weird obsession with Raditz to a point where it's now just kind of. I think he's more known for that than
That's a meme at this point.
Yeah. What if Raditz was good? What if Nappa was good?
Part 68.
Yeah, I'm still making shit up for this.
Yeah.
He's a nice guy, but sometimes he goes a little too far with those things.
You know what's fucked up is I'm pretty sure his kid was born yesterday,
Oh,
which
really?
is the day that this became public.
Wow. There's a lot of really weird stuff. This
You
whole
want to hear something weird?
what's up?
Like 2 hours ago, before I came over and started setting up to do the podcast, I was watching Kai with my wife and my daughter, and like I've had a run of Kai going for a while. I'm just kind of watching it here and there, and just where I happened to be today of all days, it was the Namek saga, and Ginyu had just been defeated. Goku was in the pod. Vegeta was asleep. They gathered the Dragon Balls in secret, made their wishes. Vegeta woke up, came over, blah blah blah, make me immortal, and Purunga dies, and you just see Dende weeping, and they're like, "What happened? What's going on? What happened to Purunga?" And Dende goes, "The creator of the Dragon Balls has passed."
Yeah.
It's just today of all days for me to watch that episode. And my wife didn't catch it at first, and I asked, like, "Did you hear that?" And I rewound it, and when she heard it, she started tearing up. Like,
It's sad. Like it really hit everybody differently.
mm-hmm. Yeah, there's been a bunch of people in the Discords who were like really upset. I'm right there with them. Honestly, it's gonna sound kind of sad, but Dragon Ball was my best friend throughout most of my childhood. I didn't have many friends, and I didn't even have I didn't really even have friends until like closer to middle school or even past middle school.
See, I had friends, but I was the only anime fan that was outward about it. So I couldn't even share all my the Dragon Ball stuff with anybody.
I tried to. See, that's the thing, is like a lot of people hid their like for Dragon Ball. I didn't, and that outed me out as the weirdo.
Even though you knew everyone else was also watching it.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's been numerous occasions. Like, for instance, my cousin Dominic, he used to make fun of me for watching Dragon Ball and being into like that Naruto and all that stuff. But he is like all about anime now. Like I talked to him a few years ago, and like he had like anime tattoos, and he had a paintball team called Laughing Coffin, which anybody who knows, that's a group in Sword Art Online of all shows.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's funny how that happens.
See, kids have it a lot harder in a lot of ways, but they also have it so much easier in terms of stuff like this nowadays, because like anime is so mainstream and popular now that it's like you're almost the weird one for not liking it.
Yeah.
But I still think about back in like middle school, especially elementary school, but also middle school. Like I was like the one anime fan that was kind of open about it. I was less so the further I got in, because I knew, being an Inuyasha fan, that was gonna be even more ridicule heavy, because that series wasn't even popular like mainstream wise.
Mm-hmm. Even though it was like way darker than a lot of the other ones. Like that was a fucking dark show.
It was, but the people couldn't get past the fact that the main character was a schoolgirl. So
yeah, well, they probably saw the schoolgirl outfit and thought Sailor Moon.
Yeah, I mean, even though Kagome is way more interesting than so many anime characters there are, but that's just my bias going through.
Especially the lady characters, for being totally honest.
Yeah,
for the majority of, at least of like the classic shows that we grew up with, like generally there are exceptions, but usually the women were just there for like, hey, look, I have a woman in my manga now. Like,
or fan service.
Like what purpose did Keiko serve in Yu Yu Hakusho? Like, really?
Emotional support.
Exactly.
Yeah. Ironically, she's more prevalent in the manga than the anime, but
yeah. But
yeah, it's funny though, especially like, I mean, even Dragon Ball though had some pretty strong female characters throughout.
Oh yeah, for sure.
I mean, the second character introduced is Bulma, and she's there the entire time.
Mm-hmm. And she actually is a brilliant scientist.
Yeah, yeah. Bulma, despite Bulma being kind of Bulma, she is still like arguably the brightest character in that show, and like a lot of like the reason, like most of like the innovations are all Bulma.
Mm-hmm. I mean, she. I don't know if this was. I don't know if she just figured out on her own, or if she like reverse engineered the technology on Frieza's spaceship from Resurrection F. But she made a healing tank, like they had a Namek.
Yeah, I'm sure she probably re-engineered it, knowing her.
Not to mention the time machine, which she invented twice.
And probably would have invented it again if Beerus didn't say no.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like her future self invented it, and then the current Bulma reverse engineered it, and it would have worked, but Beerus destroyed it.
Yeah, Beerus was like, we're not doing this again.
Along with future Bulma's notes. So
yes.
if she was going to make it again, it would take a lot longer.
My favorite part about Bulma, though, as a character is the fact that she is incredibly smart, but she's also incredibly shallow at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
Like in Superhero, like where she's going through all these hoops and creating all this stuff, but in reality, she just wants to make her butt bigger.
Which is really silly because, like, she probably could just develop the shit to do it on her own. She doesn't really need that. Like, she is smart enough to be able to figure out how to make, like, she probably could make like a magic anti-aging cream. She chooses not to.
That's like the fan theory behind why in GT like Bulma looks significantly younger than Chi-Chi, despite Chi-Chi being younger, is the fact that like they just assume Bulma just invented some shit.
Well, Chi-Chi was always stressed out. Bulma just didn't give a fuck.
Well, yeah, Bulma got like Chi-Chi gave birth to like two Saiyans and then had to deal with their bullshit because the father wasn't going to hang out.
Vegeta wasn't an absent father, and even if he was, Bulma's the richest woman on Earth, so who gives a fuck?
Bulma didn't have to raise shit.
She's got nannies for days.
Like, I'm tired of this now. Can you take care of it for an hour?
She's got like 8 fucking Mary Poppins on hand at any given time.
I mean, although, to be fair, Chi-Chi kind of did a lot of that shit to herself. So.
True.
Like, she would have a much less stressful life if she just let Goku, like, be Goku sometimes.
Yeah, well, I think at this point in, like, where the series is, I think she's pretty much just accepted that he is how he is. It's not going to change.
Yeah. I mean, she was pretty good at the end of Z after he died. And then, like, after he came back in Super, they kind of forgot all of her character development and made her like worse than she was at the beginning of Z for a while there.
Yeah, all of a sudden she cares about Goten studying, even though she's already has a successful son.
You know what I found weird about that is like she all of a sudden cared about Goten studying, even though one of her biggest character moments in Z was the fact that she trained him.
Mm-hmm.
But
that he learned how to become a Super Saiyan because of her.
Yeah.
Which also, like, when you think about it, makes a whole lot of sense about, like, why he was strong at Go Super Saiyan but didn't know how to fly because she never learned.
Yeah, that's true. Chi-Chi did never learn how to fly.
So that makes sense why Goten didn't know how to fly.
Yeah.
Even though you'd think Trunks would have taught him.
Yeah. You think, well, they were kind of frenemies at that point still.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because it's weird that Chi-Chi never did, because Chi-Chi was, not counting like 18, like she's I think the strongest like human woman still in the series.
At least the strongest woman that isn't altered in any way.
Yeah.
Like 18 wouldn't be that strong if she wasn't a cyborg.
Yeah, that's why I'm saying other than 18.
Mm-hmm.
But also there really hasn't been any just human female fighters since. Not a lot of human fighters in general anymore. To be honest.
Yeah, which is a bummer, which is another reason why everyone's really been waiting for, Dragon Ball to go past the end of Z so we could get some Oob, because he's the one human who has the potential to match these Saiyans. You know?
Yeah. Yeah, that is true though. I was thinking about that. Like, there hasn't been like a human, because like in original Dragon Ball, that was kind of the whole gimmick, is that Goku was the weird one among like all these human characters.
Mm.
And then like Z, it's just like all of a sudden they forgot about. Oh yeah, they're from Earth, by the way. I think the majority of Earth's population is alien. Well, to be fair too, though, in original Dragon Ball, we had all like the weird like animal people walking around.
Yeah, that's true.
That they had to make a sub mini quest in Kakarot to explain why that went away.
Mm.
I always thought that was
Even though even in Kakarot it was established that there are some people who were altered to be animal people, and then there's other animal people who were just born that way. Like Oolong was just born that way.
yeah.
But apparently the king of the world or whatever, he took the drug.
Yeah.
So I don't know. King Furry.
They had to just make things up on the spot. I don't know. I kind of like the world of weird that original Dragon Ball was.
Yeah, it was so charming and so interesting.
It kind of got sterilized a bit with Z, but
yeah, they
then
made it a lot more like kind of modernized in a way.
Yeah.
One of my favorite like I don't even know if it's meant to be a joke. One of my favorite like quirks of the Dragon Ball world is how like whenever there's like a huge panic, like Cell's gonna blow up the world, or Boo's coming to the city, or something's gonna happen and everyone's gonna die, and everyone is panicking trying to get out of the city, and the drive, the bumper to bumper traffic, and you see one car just like literally just slowly bump into the car in front of them, and both cars explode. Like it just literally lightly taps, and they just both explode, and they're all dead.
One of my favorite things is like in like Battle of Gods, like the classic line of like all those explosions are happening. It's like, oh, they do it over a Capsule Corp.
Yeah, there was that one cop who was just like, it's probably the brief's testing some explosives without a license again.
Yeah.
It was like such a throwaway line. And I'm pretty sure the whole reason that was there, I think that was like a famous Japanese like athlete or something. And that was just supposed to be like a little cameo for like the Japanese audience. But like to everyone else in the world, it was just so out of left field. Like everyone thought something was going to happen like related to that. Like that was going to be a plot point later on. Like, no, it was literally just a stupid throwaway joke.
Yeah. It's funny too how Super also kind of like killed all of the tension in like the series, because they literally like when they introduced Whis, they basically just went like, oh yeah, by the way, I can just undo the world getting exploded at like will. So,
and even at the end of Super, where he was just like, oh yeah, I can just boot people back to life. Boop. There you go, Frieza. You're alive.
Yeah.
Who needs Dragon Balls?
I love Beerus and Whis, but my god, they fucked up so much canon when they were created.
That's true. But that's the thing, though, is if they're not interested in what's going on, they won't touch it.
Yeah, I do like that, but now Whis is kind of like, all right, we need this planet because Beerus is attached to it now, so now like nothing can happen to Earth.
Mm-hmm.
It's still a little weird though, because like all the previous canon was made without Beerus and Whis, but now they're so integral to it that it's like it makes some of the watching the older stuff a little weird sometimes.
Yeah, but like with a lot of the retcons they've done, it makes more sense than it should.
True.
Like for instance, Goku and Vegeta splitting apart with the Potara when they were fighting Boo, like that actually makes sense now.
True.
A little bit less sense is the fact that Beerus is the one who sealed Elder Kai into Z-Sword.
Yeah. I mean, I did kind of like the whole implication that Beerus was going to destroy the Saiyans anyways, but Frieza did it.
Yeah, Frieza was just like, hey, is it cool if I do that? He's like, yeah, cool, save me a trip.
He's like, yeah, I don't really care.
Although ironically, like the Saiyans probably would have lived a lot longer if Frieza hadn't gotten the okay. Like if Beerus was like, nah, I want to do it myself, but he probably would have just gone to sleep for like a few decades.
Yeah, he would have been lazy and not wanted to do it.
So they probably would have still lived a while, but who knows?
I like the fact too that he was kind of like, oh yeah, where is that Frieza? I want to go put him out of his misery. And they're like, oh, he's already dead. He's like, oh, okay.
Mm, yeah, I don't know. I really hope Toyotaro was up to the mantle that he's been put at. He's been training for this for a while. Like he's been, the protege of Toriyama for almost a decade now.
I mean, yeah, Super's been going
Since
a long
2015.
time. Yeah.
So yeah, it's been almost a decade that he's been working directly with Toriyama, learning under him, and I just hope he's up to it.
I mean, you look at his art, like you look at volume 1, and then you look at like volume 20, and it's like you can see how much better he's gotten.
He's definitely improved, but he's still not Toriyama level.
No one's going to be Toriyama. I mean,
true. Although I will say, Dragon Garo Lee, he does a good job imitating that style.
Yeah, I mean, so Toriyama's art style is very interesting to me. Like, even just like looking through this like book of all the Dragon Quest designs, like his style isn't the most like crazy, like intricate, but the way he draws it is something that only he seems to be able to do.
And he does it so he did it so casually too. Like it wasn't like it was like a notorious thing with him where he ran a weekly manga like week to week from I want to say 1980 to like 95, give or take. I could be mixing up the dates, but about that long, about 15 years straight. And he was notorious for procrastinating the hell out of it. Like he would literally just procrastinate for 5 days out of the week, and then those last 2 days he would bang out the full chapter.
Oh yeah. And what's crazy to me is like his black and whites, like his manga actual art, is so like detailed and intricate. But then when he goes and does like his full color spreads, it's like the dude is like was on another level.
Mm-hmm.
Like just looking at that art.
Yeah.
And it's so distinctly him too.
For sure. Like you can't look at anything that he's drawn and not instantly recognize it as a Toriyama piece.
Oh yeah. Like there are so many great artists on like the internet that I see doing like fan art, and they almost have his style down to a T. But you even looking at it, though, you can still tell it's not Toriyama.
Mm-hmm.
It is just a very good stylistic interpretation.
Yeah,
which
for
is
sure.
perfectly fine.
There's a lot of good fan art out there, but
oh yeah, but I mean that's what makes a manga artist like so good, like Toriyama was. Like when I think of like other iconic artists, like there's never going to be another Oda. There'll never be another Kishimoto. There'll never be another Rumiko Takahashi. There's more off the top of my head I could think of, probably.
Yeah. Takahashi, he has a very specific style too.
Oh yeah.
I don't know. It's just one of those things where, often imitated, never duplicated. Nobody could ever touch that style.
No.
But you see, my biggest thing is like I know Toyotaro can, like I said, he's improved a lot as an artist. I think for the most part, he could handle the drawing aspect of it, but who knows with the writing aspect? Like,
yeah, the stories are going to be hard to tell.
Yeah, who knows how that's gonna pan out? Especially like is he gonna keep kind of emulating like Toriyama's style with the writing? Is he gonna kind of start to lean more towards fanficky stuff like what he started with? Who knows?
I'm hoping that he stays true to Toriyama's overall vision, but puts some of his own flair to it.
if we never get adult Gotenks, then we know that he has officially taken the torch.
Yeah. Uh,
Because they faked us out with that again in one of the most recent manga chapters. We got another fucking fake out with adult Gotenks.
just trolling us at this point.
Yeah. Well, they called him Toriyama for a reason.
Yeah. Now, Sandland, that was his official last thing he drew, right? Like a manga wise.
No, actually, Sandland's pretty old.
Is it? I thought it was like
Sandland was
2000.
it was like the original 2000. Jocko was newer than that.
Oh, Jocko is newer. Okay.
Jocko, he wrote that I think in tandem with Battle of Gods. Like that was supposed to be like a supplemental to Battle of Gods. And that's why Jocko was in the Resurrection F movie.
Gotcha.
Um,
I should
aside
just,
from
I
that,
should
I
really
don't
just
know.
bring up a, should probably just bring up a thing of his work so I can actually see what he made and when.
Yeah, I have no idea what the last thing he like his last official manga was, like that he actually wrote and drew himself.
So, looking at it, like most of his stuff was obviously in the 80s and 90s. Um, well, I guess he was doing Nekomajin from 99 to '05.
That's another one I really hope we finally get. I would love to get Nekomajin.
So Sandland was 2000.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Um, so there was Dr. Mascherito in 2007.
Which that was like the main antagonist in Doctor Slump.
Okay. Oh yeah, Jocko was 2013, so that's obviously the most recent thing he did exclusively.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's what I figured, but I didn't know if there was because I mean I was staying pretty much up to date with a lot of his stuff, like since the Dragon Ball Resurgence with Battle of Gods. So
Yeah.
I feel like if something else had come out, I would have heard about it.
Yeah, other than that, yeah, Jocko was the most recent thing, although that's technically a Dragon Ball spin-off now.
Yeah, I mean, you can make an argument and say the last thing he wrote himself was superhero.
True, because he did write that story.
Yeah, he's written the scripts for the last 3 Dragon Ball movies.
And they're 3 of the best.
Well,
Well,
except for Resurrection F.
oh yeah, that one's that one didn't really need to be a thing.
No. Well, I mean, it could have just. I don't know. It was a little bit too action focused and not enough story.
It was too big for a movie, and I think the anime adaptation kind of proved that.
Yeah, I think superhero was a good place to leave it.
Yeah, I mean, superhero. I think that storyline was perfect because he subverted so many expectations with that movie.
And that movie is just so classic Toriyama. It's so like, so goofy, so silly, lots of gags, but also like had that kind of style to it. It had that high action. But at the same, even with all the high action, like all those like crazy like Gohan getting angry power up stuff, it was all fake outs because Pam was never in any actual danger until like Cell showed up.
Yeah. Yep. But we got a Goku and Gohan movie. I mean, not Goku, a Piccolo and Gohan movie, which we never thought we were going to get.
Yeah, that wasn't even in the realm of possibility in my mind.
Well, especially because the fake out like art, like posters and trailers that had Goku all like full on like present like throughout all of them, and it's like, nope, he's only in like 10 minutes of the film.
If that.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I'm hoping things go forward with the Dragon Ball Super manga. Because the last chapter ended with a sparring match between Goku and Gohan that was about to start. Like they just kind of barely started touching fists. Like the real fight's going to be in the next chapter later this month, and I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah,
especially since that's probably the last piece of manga he's touched.
yeah. I bet there's going to be a tribute or something.
Oh, I'm sure. I'm sure. Yeah, I'm hoping a lot of that stuff that we never got over here will be made more of a priority now. Things like
Yeah,
Dr. Slump, things like Nekomajin.
I'm amazed with just how popular Toriyama is, that how much of his stuff is still not really available.
Yeah, it's really bizarre because I know like there was an argument back in the day of why Dr. Slump never made it over here, and that like the whole concept was like, oh, the Japanese humor doesn't translate very well. But that's not even like a real that's not even a real argument anymore because there's so
No,
many gag mangas and comedy mangas and stuff like animes that have been adapted and brought over here at this point that there are people who are familiar enough with Japanese culture who work on these things that they could definitely do it now. 100%.
I mean, if Azumanga Daioh can get a full omnibus release over here, there's no excuse. There's no excuse.
Like, I don't know. I'm just saying the original Dr. Slump manga or anime, I should say, absolutely could be dubbed today with
Oh yeah,
with the knowledge and skills that we have nowadays with
with the
dubbing.
amount of garbage that gets dubbed nowadays, there's no excuse for something like that not getting dubbed.
Mm-hmm. For sure. And now with now that Funimation has been absorbed by Crunchyroll, like they could easily
Well, other way around technically, but
well, I mean, technically Sony absorbed them both, but whatever.
Sony bought both of them and then basically was like, go together now. What? The Crunchyroll name is more bigger outside of the US? Fine, use that one.
Yeah.
But it's still Funimation, basically.
Yeah, well, I mean, they still have like the studio and they still do the same stuff like that, but it's all
Did
Crunchyroll branded now.
did you see all the goodbyes from all the a little off topic here? Did you see like when they closed down the Funimation servers like officially? All the Funimation actors were like posting their goodbyes, and then my favorite one was Dallas Reed, who literally said, "Goodbye, Funimation. I won't miss you because I'm literally going there the next day because nothing's changed." That tweet was then later deleted, so I'm assuming he got yelled at for saying that. But I'm like Dallas Reed's the only real one here.
Yeah, it's about right.
It's because literally nothing changed.
It's not like any of them lost a job.
No, they just changed the name on the door.
Oh well.
Yeah,
But
still can't believe it though. It's like the end of an era in a way.
it really is. I mean, who knows where things are going to go from here with even just the anime and manga sphere in general, let alone like just looking at Dragon Ball in particular or Dragon Quest for that matter.
What gets me even more though with Toriyama is like we said it earlier, he wasn't that old, so it's like this really kind of like makes you realize like any of these guys can go, or guys or girls, gals can go like at any time.
I use guys as a collective term.
I know. It's crazy because I think of Toriyama as the old guard, but it's like he was only 68. He really wasn't that old.
Oh, for real. I mean, friggin' Shatner's in his 90s. He's still kicking.
Ozzy Osbourne's still alive somehow.
Yeah, right? Like, how the fuck is Ozzy still alive and Toriyama isn't? Like, that. What kind of world do we live in?
Ozzy is actually a confirmed mutant. Like, he's got some weird genetic thing that, like, makes his body super resistant to, like, bullshit, basically.
Yeah, well, that makes sense.
Although it is apparently catching up to him because that's why he's not really touring anymore, but...
Yeah, well, that's going to happen eventually.
Yeah. It's just, it sucks. It really does.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think, like, who were the other big writers from that era? Like, other than, like, I guess Tagashi was from that era as well.
Kind of. I mean, he didn't really. I mean, I don't know what he had before Yu Hakusho, if
True.
anything. Yu Hakusho came out in '90, so by that point, Toriyama was already 10 years deep.
True. I forget Dragon Ball is a lot older than we actually think it is.
I mean, you also got to figure he's been going since before Dragon Ball. You know, Dr.
True.
Slump was 4 years before Dragon Ball started.
When did Dr. Slump come out? Slump come out.
I'm pretty sure it was 1980.
Let me double check because I got his. So he was writing stuff in the 70s. Like Wonder Island was the 70s.
Yeah, like he had a lot of his his one shots and stuff that he tried to get going before Dr. Slump caught.
Yeah, so Dr. Slump was 1980 to 1984.
Mm-hmm. And then
he didn't.
Sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna say like Dragon Ball didn't. Dragon Ball was 84 to 95.
Okay. Wow, I was actually dead on with the years. It was 80 to 95.
Yeah.
Surprised. I thought I was off.
Yeah, that is weird. Now I'm actually trying to think who were the other like mangakas at the time.
I don't know. I think I know the Berserk author started Berserk in the late 80s.
True.
I don't know. I don't even know what was out back then.
Kentaro Miura was the creator of Berserk.
Mm-hmm. We lost him 2-3 years ago.
Yeah, and even then, Berserk only started in '89, so that's like borderline '90s.
Yeah, he's basically right there with Tagashi.
Yeah, we lost Miura in 2021, and he was only 54, so even younger.
Yeah, he was super young compared to that.
It's just nuts. So I guess closing thoughts, because I'm not we're kind of just rambling at this point. It's just kind of sad, honestly.
Yeah. But I don't know. It's not a fun day.
No. But I mean, I guess at least like when thinking about it, we can at least appreciate what we did get and like what he did do for anime, manga, just Japanese media in general.
Mm-hmm.
Not even just Japanese media, just animation and like art in general, like how much of an influence he had.
Yeah. I hope wherever he is now, he understands fully now how truly beloved and irreplaceable he was.
Yeah. There'll never be another Dragon Ball. Like,
nah.
There's other series that have the same staying power as Dragon Ball, but there'll never be another series like Dragon Ball.
No, it was a 1 in a million, 1 in a billion chance for something like that. I think only someone like Toriyama could make it.
I think it hits us millennials the hardest because it was our anime.
Mm-hmm.
Like well, millennials are kind of split. Like we got earlier, like mid millennials to like late millennials were really into Dragon Ball. Then like a combination of late millennials to like early Zoomers were into Naruto, and now like Zoomers are all into My Hero Academia and whatever the big ones are nowadays.
Demon Slayer.
Yeah. Black Clover. I mean, I'm into Black Clover, but Black Clover is kind of like the second tier one at this point.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, rest in peace, Toriyama.
Yeah. Yeah, and we'll be talking more about Dragon Ball in the future because we had 2 episodes planned that we kind of pushed off.
Mm-hmm.
So next week we'll be talking more Dragon Ball.
Yes, and the week after, and probably plenty of times after that.
Yeah.
Probably not in a row, but in general.
Yeah. But anyways, guys, once again, thank you for joining us on this very somber episode of Geek Addicts. You can find Geek Addicts on all your major podcasting platforms in the GNC podcast feed. You can also find our episodes on YouTube with occasional video versions. And you can find all of our links at linktree/thebarbacogames. And you could join the GNC Podcast Network Discord server if you want to join in on the conversations, all things gaming, collecting, the 3DO experience. Geek Addicts, talk gaming, anime, all sorts of general nonsense. And with that, everybody, we will see you all later.
Have a good one.